Hello everyone and welcome back to the Scots Scheme with Macalester College head football coach Coach Jennison. The Scots Scheme is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Macalester coach questions about the Scots, football or sports in general, or just seek Coach Jennison's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about his preparation for the Carleton game. He shares with us who will be the starting quarterback for this season, and he discusses the challenges of replacing Zach Hauser. So let's get right to the Scots Scheme. So let us welcome back to Season 2 of the Scots Scheme. You put up with me for a whole season, back again. Unbelievable.
This is only Season 2. It seems like it's been about 10 years with you, Rob. But yeah, thanks for having me back. I really appreciate you being here today.
Well, let us talk about team updates, injuries, things like that you'd like to talk about.
We're pretty healthy. We have had a really good camp. We basically just finished camp on Tuesday. School started on Wednesday, so we're used to the last couple of weeks of being with our team basically for the better part of the day for the most part. They do have breaks in our schedule, but and then today or yesterday hit with the first day of classes and we didn't hardly get to see them at all, so it was a little bit of a change. But no, we made it through camp pretty healthy. We have one significant injury. Kerrigan Miller, who was a sophomore offensive lineman for us, was projected to be a starting offensive lineman. He was working with our starting unit as a guard, and unfortunately in our team scrimmage last Saturday he had an MCL injury, so he will be back later in the season. It'll probably be about 4 to 6 weeks, most likely closer to 6 before he's back. So that is a tough break for us. Just because of who Kerrigan was as a person, as a leader. Even being out the last week, his teammates still voted him onto our leadership council, which I think says a lot about his character and who he is as a young man. So it's definitely going to hurt our team, but for the most part, we're fairly healthy. Other than the Kerrigan situation, we have a few guys who are battling some minor stuff. We do have Patrick Grogan, who's a transfer student from Bloomington Jefferson, who was doing really well. We were very high on him, who hurt his hand, and he's actually going to the hand specialist today to kind of get a definitive answer on it, whether or not it needs surgery or not. We're hoping that it doesn't, but he's done a very good job for us right now as well. But other than those two, we just have some minor injuries, so we should be pretty healthy heading into week 1.
Sadly, I think we're talking about the same thing we started last year's show with,
yes.
Which is the quarterback situation for you. You had a lot of guys, 3 great freshmen last year. Who wound up being the guy that you're going to be going with this season? Well,
Christian Adams will be our starter, and it's kind of a unique story. I was talking to Mark Davies, our offensive coordinator, yesterday, and he said that Christian is more prepared than any quarterback he's had going into week 1. And Mark has been our offensive coordinator now. I believe this is his 4th year. And so that includes Samson Bialystok, who was conference MVP. Mark feels that Christian is more prepared for week 1 than even Samson was in his senior year. And Christian's just a junior for us. He did start our first 4 or 5 games last year before being replaced, and did some good things in those games. And quite honestly, we didn't function very well offensively last year. And when Christian was in, his teammates didn't help him a lot. I know we counted up the number of drop passes we had, and it was a large amount. So our receiver core has been playing much better this year, and we expect that they're going to help him out with their play. And he's ready to go. He's had a really good camp. He's been dialed in. He's been focused, and I'm excited to see him go.
One of the biggest losses he would have when Sandy Stoll graduated for you. He was such a huge force for you as the running back position. Who winds up stepping up for him this year?
Yeah, Zandy was a great back with exceptional vision, but we do feel that the running back position is probably our deepest position on the team. Jacob Jones is going to be our starter. Jacob is a junior from Holly Pond, Alabama. It was actually his birthday yesterday, and he's looked great this camp. He came in great shape. He's one of our strongest players on the team, and he's ready to go. Jeremy Steffen has looked great. Jeremy's a sophomore from the Marshall School in Duluth, Minnesota. And Jeremy's had a great camp as well. And in our scrimmage the other day, he was running very hard and looks great. And we also have seniors Brian Lynn and Ethan Carpenter, who have done a good job as well. Not to mention Matt Bonazzoli, who's going to be a factor in our backfield also. All of them have had great camps, and we anticipate all of them will contribute in some capacity. So while Zandy was a great back, and we're going to miss him, I do feel good about the people we have coming behind him, because they're also very talented backs, and they all have skills that can help us. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see more than 2, 3, maybe 4, and potentially 5 running backs that actually get carries for us in game 1, and especially throughout the season.
Is this your first year that you didn't have the running back with a Chippewa Falls that Zandy had gone to?
You know what? Yeah, you're right. It's been a long time since we haven't had a running back from Chippewa Falls. It's been a long time since we haven't had a player from Chippewa Falls. I think in my entire, this is my 11th year at Macalester, and I believe it was just our first season. No. Our second season that we had someone come in from Chippewa Falls. So I think I've only been at Macalester, I think 10 of my 11 years we've had someone from Chippewa Falls. So it is a little bit of a disappointment that we don't have anyone. So I got to call Coach Rakovich over there and get on him about that. We need some more of those Chippewa Falls guys.
Last season, you had a situation where you had a lot of injuries to the team. A lot of your younger freshmen and sophomore players got a lot of playing time for you. How do you think that benefits you this year?
I think the experience is something that you can't really, you can't, there's no way to replicate that. And so a lot of our younger guys were forced into situations last year where they had to play, and I believe it's only going to make them better this year. I think a lot of them got a taste of it, and in a lot of cases they didn't have the type of success that they wanted. And so I think that for a lot of them, that motivated them this offseason. And we came into camp in great shape. We were really excited as a coaching staff about our strength numbers and our conditioning and speed numbers and whatnot. Our players had a great offseason. They worked really hard, and we expect that to show on the field. And I'm excited to see them play, to show what they can do, because I think that our players have worked really hard to have success. And that's something that we talk about all the time around here, that if you want to have greatness in something, if you want to have success in something, you have to push yourself, you have to challenge yourself, you have to work hard for it. It's just not going to happen. And whether it's in your career, in football, in your personal life, your social life, whatever it may be, you need to work at it to have success and to get the things you want. So I think our players have put in the time and they've worked hard, and I'm excited to see what that means for them.
A lot of talent on your defense, but a big loss in Zach Hauser graduating. Mm-hmm. How do you work the scheme now, losing such a big force like that?
Oh, we completely changed our defense. We're moving to a 4-3 defense now. No, we are who we are. Obviously, you can't replace a guy that's 6'3", 300 pounds, who moves well. Zach was kind of maybe a hopefully once every couple years type of guy, but it's probably a once every 5 to 10 years type of player for us. Now, we do have some individuals that we believe are going to step up and help fill that void, but you can't replace that. So we are who we are defensively, and we're not going to change. It's what I've been doing forever, and now Marshall's running the defense and has really expanded our defense in so many ways and added to it. And we are who we are. We're not going to change schemes just because somebody leaves. We might adjust a few things here or there, but for the most part, we're going to look the same for people that watch us.
Heading on to look at the conference for this season, Carroll University leaves the conference. How does that affect the way the conference looks this year?
Well, this year, we won't have a North and South division. This year it will just be one big conference with 11 teams, and the team with the best record will be the conference champion and go to the national playoffs. Now, the year after, in 2017, the University of Chicago joins our league, and we'll go back to divisional play, North and South. So it's just a one-year situation, the way it is right now. So it means that every game is important. With the divisional play, you didn't necessarily have to win those divisional games. You just needed to win your for us you didn't need to win. I'm sorry, I misspoke. You didn't need to win the non-divisional games. You basically just needed to make sure that we took care of business for us in the Northern Division. But now it makes every game important. So we need to be ready from the get-go when we hit conference play, which we start with Illinois College, going back down there, which will be a big challenge. They're considered one of the favorites in the conference every year, so especially with the long trip, it's going to be a huge challenge for us. But we're excited for it, and I'm excited for the University of Chicago to join. University of Chicago is one of the top academic institutions in America, and just shows that the Midwest Conference is a dedicated conference in terms of higher end academics, and that's why it's such a great fit for us. So I'm excited that Chicago is going to be coming into the conference. Certainly it's going to be a challenge because they're a very strong football program. In fact, it seems like half of our top recruits this year ended up choosing Chicago. So that was hard to swallow, but it's going to be great to add a really prestigious school academically. That's also a good football program. But before 2017, we've obviously got a lot of work to do here in 2016, and like I said, we need to be ready from the get-go because the conference is just going to be one big conference this year.
Piggybacking off of the Illinois reference that you made, who do you see as the real contenders in the Midwest Conference this year?
Well, to me, it's like you always start with St. Norbert because they were the conference champions last year, went to the national playoffs, and we've seen who they are. We were fortunate to beat them in 2014. That game could have gone either way. Last year we had a really tight game with them. Ended up losing it in the second half in a real competitive game. But to me, they're the defending conference champions, and they've won the Midwest Conference. It seems like in the last 20 years they've won it the majority of the time. So I think it always starts with them. I know Monmouth, we haven't played Monmouth yet, but we've watched them on film, and wow, they are talented. They are big, they are physical, they are fast, they are athletic. That's a team that scares me, and every year they're competing for a conference championship, so I think they have to be in the mix. Like I said, Illinois College is always up there, and there's no reason for that to change this year. Ripon is another team that I always think about just because of what they do offensively. It's so hard to defend. They're kind of a nightmare, and they do it really well with their triple option attack. So Ripon's a team that I always think is going to be in consideration for those things. And Lake Forest is another good team. They've been very competitive since Jim has been there and done a very good job, and we actually will see them for the first time this year. So there's a lot of really strong teams in the Midwest Conference. Quite honestly, I don't think you can overlook anybody. I mean, even in 2014 when we won the conference, we had tight games with the teams that finished on the lower end of everything. So it's certainly a conference that is strong top to bottom, but I think at the very top of the conference, those, as I mentioned, St. Norbert and Ripon and Illinois College and Monmouth, Lake Forest, those are the teams that you really notice just because of how talented they are.
Looking ahead to Carleton this week, last season you got some really great special teams plays out of them, and it was a very close game heading into half, but it seemed like the heat kind of wore down on you guys as the game went along. What do you do for looking for a different kind of outcome this year?
That's true. The heat did. We didn't do a good job handling the heat last year, and that really falls on me. We weren't as well conditioned as we needed to be, and so we've challenged our young men in different ways this year, and they've responded. We've done more conditioning things. It was a huge emphasis with our off-season strength and conditioning program, the conditioning aspect of everything, led by Coach Murray. Coach Murray, I've said this before, and I believe it. I think he's the best strength coach in America. Steve and I have worked at 3 different institutions together. We were defensive back coaches together at Wisconsin Eau Claire. And we went to Marietta College together. I was defensive coordinator. He was my DB's coach, and he was also our strength and conditioning coordinator there. And when I came to Macalester, we were opening up the Leonard Center, and I told him he should apply for the job because of just how great he is as a strength and conditioning coach. And and he got the job. I didn't tell anybody I knew him, because I knew that people don't like that at Macalester. They don't want someone to get a job just because a football coach says so. So I didn't tell anybody I knew him, and they hired him still. There was over 120 some applicants or whatever, if I can remember correctly, and Steve got the job. So he's really good at what he does, and he's really focused on the conditioning aspect with our young men. So it's been a focus of ours for the better part of, well, about 7 or 8 months right now, and I think we're in much better shape than we were last year. I guess time will tell. We'll have to wait and see, but I really believe that we are.
Both schools are obviously incredibly high academic standards for both, and 2 years ago you wound up winning your first book of knowledge as the head coach here at Macalester between the two teams. What did that feel like for you personally?
Well, for me personally, it was a very meaningful moment, just because we hadn't beaten Carleton ever. Again, this is my 11th season in the 10 years that I've been here thus far. Carleton's beat us 9 times, and it feels like every year we go into that game feeling fairly confident, and every year we come out with a loss, and I think that's a credit to them. Obviously, they're very well coached with Bob Pagel. Bob and I go back through the years. When I first got in the coaching profession, I met Bob. In fact, I think his leaving Wisconsin-Eau Claire was the reason I got the job there, quite honestly. But Bob's a friend of mine, and they've got a lot of experience on their staff. They're very well coached, and going back to Kurt Ramler, who's now the head coach at St. Scholastica, they've always done a good job against us, and so it was very meaningful for me, also because we recruit against them all the time with the high-end academics. When people fly in from out of state, it's very common that they visit both schools, and so we're always competing over the same players. I mean, half of our roster they recruited, half of their roster we recruited, so it makes it competitive that way. But there's I think a good chemistry between the teams. I mean, when we're out there in the field, I mean, it's a hard-fought physical game, as football should be, but they play the right way, and I hope that we do as well. I mean, they're classy. They're not cheap shotting you. They're not talking trash or anything like that. They just play hard, and they respect the game of football, and I hope that that's what we do as well. But it always means a little bit more, just because again, the high academics, so it's a natural rival, and again, we recruit against them all the time, and certainly the book of knowledge, having a trophy to play for is something that you want to get. So it obviously would mean a lot for us to beat them, but our real test is going to come in the Midwest Conference, and that's where we really need to be ready.
So our last segment for this week is our good, bad, and ugly. What's
good with the Fighting Scots?
Yes.
What's good with the Fighting Scots is that game time is coming. Quite honestly, I'm tired of practicing. I'm tired of fall camp, and we've been going at it for close to 3 weeks now. And our players, our coaches, we're ready to play someone else. I know our players are ready to hit someone else, and we're excited for Saturday. What's bad? Certainly, Kerrigan's injury is bad, and that one really hurt our team. And I'm sad to have Patrick Grogan transfer out as well. He's had some injury situations in his football career over the last couple of years that have really hurt him personally, and I'm sad for that, because he's got some ability, and I know that he can help us. So obviously the injury situations are not good. I thought we were going to go with bad being.
Bad was good, yeah.
Yeah, bad was good.
We can say that's the ugly part.
I screwed that up. Maybe that is the ugly part. So anyway, I'm not sure I answered that correctly, but I know this. We're excited to get going on Saturday, and we really hope that we'll have a good crowd here to support us. Should be a beautiful day from what I can tell from the weather. I've heard a bunch of people are already planning on tailgating and stuff like that, so I hope that's the case. I hope we have a big crowd, and I hope they're loud, and I hope the Fighting Scots will play well. I really believe that we're in a good spot, and I think we're ready to play. So again, time will tell, so we'll see what happens Saturday.
Well, thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thank you, Rob.
We want to thank Coach Jennison for joining us on the Scots Scheme this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Macalester coach, please send them to us at TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Wednesday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on the Scots.